But outside of that, I mean, 32 out of 32 right now have kind of a split structure.
Yeah.
But when you look at college football, it's basically at the FBS level, 134, whatever that number is now. Up until recently, it's been 134 out of 134. The head coach still makes all the calls.
Absolutely.
Right?
Right.
And so it sounds kind of weird, right? Like the NFL, 0 out of 32 are doing it that way. And then in college football, 134 out of 134 is doing it the other way.
Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Headset, presented by Coach Com. This week, we sit down with the general manager for Oklahoma football, Jim Nagy, as he discusses his early days as a scout in the NFL, his time leading the Senior Bowl, and how he hopes to bring Oklahoma football to new heights as the GM. But first, a word from Coach Com.
Deuce left, check with me. If they're in quarters match, we're going to Pittsburgh or Ohio.
They're in zero.
Let's go Hippo, Seattle, wide choice. If we call the protection right, it's 6.
When a play call is the difference between winning and losing, your headset choice could be your most important decision. When the call counts, CoachCom is the only choice for clear, dependable communication. Visit CoachCom.com for more info.
We got it, guys. Good job.
Follow Inside the Headset on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and leave a review. It really helps others discover the show. We drop new episodes every week, so hit that follow button and never miss a moment. Now, let's get inside the headset with Jim Nagy.
Jim, how we doing?
I'm good, Mario. Good to be on with you.
Yeah, I'm excited about this, man. Obviously, your hiring kind of shook the world up, the coaching profession up a little bit as this GM role is becoming more and more prominent at the collegiate level. And I look forward to first learning a little bit about you and kind of how you got yourself in this position, and then learn a lot more about the GM role and how you kind of is looking at attacking it. But so before we get started, when did you know you want to be a part of this great profession?
From the time I was a little kid, my dad was a high school football coach in Michigan. And so my earliest memories are just, hanging out at practice when I was, 3-4 years old. Just like I've said, like scraping cleats and kicking field goals between 2-a-day practices and falling asleep on tackling dummies, man. So I've, just always been around the game and never got bit by the coaching bug. I really didn't. Like I love going to camps and helping out with kids and did a lot of that. My last job when I was in Mobile, Alabama, did a lot in the community with the high school programs there. But the team building part always just really intrigued me a lot more than the coaching part. So again, just watching the draft as a kid growing up on TV, and that's really where it started. So I've really had a one-track mind. People ask me all the time, how did you get to the NFL? What did you know anybody? No, I didn't know anybody. But I guess the one leg up I had on a lot of people is I've had a one-track mind since the time I was probably 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the amount of coaches that hop on and really relay them getting into the profession on some of those early years, having a dad as the high school coach and just been around the game. There's so much from that capacity. It's cool to have the kind of slightly different perspective where you're looking at talent and looking at, the team building and all that other kind of stuff. Now, when you go to Michigan, as a student, you major in business. What was your approach at that point in time? Were you there saying I'm gonna get in the NFL, or I just want to still be around football to some capacity?
No, the NFL was always the goal, and so I had some small school playing opportunities when I was coming out of high school. But I mean, this was 1991. You couldn't Google anything, right? Like I had no idea. I was kind of flying blind, and had I known, I mean, I don't regret anything. My path is my path, and I appreciate everything it took to get, sitting here with you right now. But, I didn't think you could get to the National Football League by playing, small school football. And I didn't think that was the path. And then, Michigan had just started the sports management program. And I thought, well, that must be it. So, I applied to Michigan, and, I was waitlisted, and I was going to go play at a Division III school. And then when I got into Michigan, I had to make that call to the coach and tell him I wasn't going to be coming. And went to Michigan, and I was just a normal student the first couple of years. And then at the end of my sophomore year, I went down to the football office and the SID office, and I started, working in both departments because I did enough research at that point There weren't even scouting internships in the NFL at that point.
Yeah.
You couldn't even get your foot in the door there. So I did a lot of work with the SID office because the one way you could get your foot in the door as a really young guy in the NFL was through the PR department. So that was my first job in the league, was a PR internship. It wasn't even a scouting internship.
Wow.
And it's not just me. It's like Brad Holmes, the GM of the Detroit Lions, was a PR intern. A good buddy of mine, Trent Kirshner, who's a VP of the Seattle Seahawks on the personnel side, he was a PR intern. Eric Mangini, Brian Billick. I mean, there's been a lot of coaches that have got their initial foot in the door in an NFL building through that avenue. I mean, now it's different. I mean, every NFL team's got, 3 or 4 scouting interns. And so it's way, way different now. But back then, that's how you got in. And that's what I did. So my last couple of years of college, that's what I did. And again, I sent resumes and cover letters out to all 32 teams, and I still have the 31 rejection letters. And the one, and I got one phone call. It's from the Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
And I was really lucky. There were 6 future GMs on that staff. Going through them, Reggie McKenzie and John Schneider and John Dorsey, and that was an unbelievable staff. And so when I was done with my PR duties for the day, or if I had a break in the day, I would never skirt my other obligations, but I would go up there and I'd knock on John Schneider and Reggie McKenzie's door, and they'd let me come in there and watch tape with them, and just let me just sit and observe and listen to them and pick their brain, and that's really how it got started. And then when John Schneider got job with the Washington Redskins, he was working with Marty Schottenheimer, and he could kind of put that personnel department together how he saw fit. And he hired me to be an area scout for the Washington Redskins back in, I think, 2000, 2001. And that's really how I got going on the scouting track.
Yeah, that's actually an amazing story. I have a question about, you knocking on the door and having that opportunity to go sit in some of those meetings. Did you express to them like, hey man, I'm on this PR side, but I really want to be on this side? How did you go about communicating that so they knew that, you were the guy whenever, he went to the Redskins?
Oh yeah, no, I was really clear about that. And I was clear with it with the PR staff too. I actually did. I got offered a full-time PR job after that season with the Atlanta Falcons. And that was a real, fork in the road, if you will, for me. Yeah. Because again, that was a full-time NFL job. And I loved the NFL growing up. I love college football too, but I was really an NFL guy.
Yeah.
And to get a full-time job opportunity at the age of 22 years old to work in the NFL. But I knew I would clearly be making a choice at that point, and scouting was my passion. And so it was hard, but I had to turn down that job opportunity with the Falcons and continue as difficult as it seemed. Like, how am I ever going to get really get my foot in the door as a scout? I just went forward that way.
Yeah.
But
now getting in as a scout, when you start, how were you prepared to get out on the road, evaluate guys? Obviously you were, like you mentioned, you were sitting there kind of watching some film and doing some stuff with the guys, but how were you ready when you ultimately got that job? Was there any training that you took to make sure that you were going to be at the best?
Yeah. Looking back on it, in full transparency, like I probably wasn't ready to be on the road as an evaluator, honestly. Yeah. Like 25, 26 years old, whatever I was. But there's kind of two different ways, two different ways you can really bring value as a scout to an organization. And one is the evaluation side. And, you can only get better the more players you watch and build that Rolodex up.
Right.
The tape gets easier and easier. So I don't think anyone as a young guy is truly ready for that. But where I found, where I could be really valuable is on the information side, right? And that's, getting into a building like Oklahoma and developing relationships and getting good information, because again, it's way different than it was back then. Back then you might send 1 or 2 people from an organization through a school. Now it's just layers and layers. They're sending 5, 6 guys through Oklahoma per club.
Yeah.
There's just way more level of thoroughness and cross-check than there was back then. So I took it upon myself. Like, if I'm the only guy from, the Washington Redskins or the Patriots or whatever team I was working for as a young scout, if I'm the only one with boots on the ground in Norman, Oklahoma, like, it's on me.
Yeah.
And I took that responsibility, I took it to heart. So, I mean, I'll put it this way, like by the time you get to draft weekend, which is coming up here in a couple of weeks, you're going to have 8 or 9 sets of eyeballs on a player. I mean, you're going to have the area scout, you're going to have an over-the-top scout, you're going to have a college director, you're going to have a VP or director of player personnel, you're going to have an assistant GM, a GM, a position coach, a coordinator, and a head coach. I just listed 10 people.
Yeah.
So my thing was, as a young scout, does my evaluation even really matter that much? Like, if I'm being honest with myself, probably not. Like, I had to get the initial grade in the right ballpark so the other people would watch them.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, like they're not watching everybody that an area scout's watching. But I really took that information part really seriously. You know, developing relationships with position coaches, because when you have so many people going through a building, like, they're not going to give everyone the same information, right? It's you know, you got to work at those relationships. They have to be able to trust you.
Yeah.
So I worked really hard on that side, and that's how I developed value within the organizations I worked for. Is that they knew when they sent me on the road, like, I was going to come back with really good information on these players. And again, that's valuable stuff, because I mean, the easier thing to do, in my opinion, in the evaluation process is get the player right. Like, it's easier to watch the tape and figure out if he can play. The harder part is to figure out if he's wired right to be a professional athlete.
Absolutely.
And everything. I mean, because the talent level is so similar when you get to the NFL. You know, the separators are the work ethic and the toughness and the love of the game and, you know, the maturity level and all that, all those things that make guys great pros. And that's, I mean, to me, that's what I really dug into my first few years on the road. Well, while I really honed my craft as an evaluator and you know, gain the trust of my superiors as an evaluator.
Yeah, this is awesome stuff. Let me say that I feel like we could dedicate a whole podcast to just the scouting stuff, because I think there's just not a lot of knowledge about it. You know, even as a FBS college coach, I was there for 5 years, and I didn't really totally understand when these guys came in beyond the numbers, what they were looking for. I don't know if you're a social media guy at all, but about a decade ago, there was just like an image that was floating around the internet of this Raider sheet, you know, and it was like, who is their high school coach? Did they ever get suspended in high school? And it was just all this kind of stuff. It kind of went around and went viral a little bit. And you start talking about information. I know we don't have enough time to talk about all the information that you gather, but in a nutshell, like, what kind of stuff, you know, were you coming to bring back about a potential, you know, NFL guy whenever you would go to these colleges?
And everything that makes him a player. So, like, his learning ability. Well, first of all, starting off, like, family background, who raised him, who's important in his life, what the fit, like, socioeconomic background, like, what kind of home is he coming from? What do the parents do for a living? Just to paint that picture, right? Like, okay, what's the home life look like? And then when it comes on the football part, you know, practice. How does he practice? You know, how much is he in the building? How much time does he spend? How does he learn? You know, get down to the trainers. How tough is he? Does he fight through stuff? You know, in the weight room, how does he work down there? Leadership in the building. How does he coexist with his peers? Is he a leader? All that, you know, what does he do away from the building? So you're really, when you come in, you're trying to paint a full picture of not just the player, but the person. And that's kind of the first round of draft meetings. And then from that point on, so at that point, everybody's telling a kid's story for him, right? I always tell the players, like, when we got the players to the Senior Bowl, I'm like, fellas, this is an incredible opportunity for you, because up until now, everybody has told your story for you. Now you get to control the narrative. Now you can tell your own story and let these guys dig in. And you know what I'm saying? Like, make yourself vulnerable. Let these guys really get to know you. So I mean, man, that's a hard one to answer, because you're really trying to learn everything you can about that person and really how they're wired.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously we want to get ultimately to this OU deal, and I know we don't have much time here, so I'm going to kind of just summarize for everybody here that's listening to the podcast. Regional scout started off in 2001 with the Redskins Commanders at the time. 2002 to 2009, you're with the Patriots. 9 to 13, you're with the Chiefs. 13 to 18, you're with the Seahawks. Had the opportunity to win be a part of Super Bowl 49 and win 38 and Super Bowl 38 and 39 and 31. So 4 Super Bowl rings. I mean, a heck of a career as a scout. I do want to ask, at what point in time, as you're kind of rolling through this thing, do you look and, you know, maybe you don't ever do this, but look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm pretty damn good at this. I've got this thing figured out. When did you kind of get in that groove?
I mean, I never think I have it figured out. I don't have this job figured out. Not even close. But
yeah.
No, I mean, I think you start feeling comfortable, as a scout. You got probably 5 years in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny the difference between year one and year two. I mean, when I started year one, we didn't have smartphones, so I'm driving around the country with a damn Rand McNally Road Atlas, man. I'm getting lost. I didn't know where the football offices were. I didn't know where the stadium was. I mean, that first year on the road is tough. You don't know where you're going. So year two, you feel like you got it licked. Year two, you're like, man, this is easy.
Yeah.
But no, I'd say probably 5 years in. That was always kind of the benchmark for NFL teams. Like if you can make it to year 5, you've proven yourself. Like that was always kind of the unspoken thing is if you can get 5 years in, then you've built a level of trust. You know what you're looking at. They trust you as an evaluator. You've proven it. And again, that road life is hard living now. 200 nights on the road, 200 nights a year on the road. I mean, you got to be disciplined. You got to be on your task. I mean, you got to be at the buildings every day. I used to show up 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, be sitting there with a box of donuts for the coach's staff ready to go. I mean, so you really got to be detailed. You got to be on it. So 5 years in, I think is probably the benchmark for that. But in terms of being comfortable, man, I don't like being comfortable at anything. I feel like there's always opportunity to get better.
That's the right answer right there, I guess. But you definitely were clicking at some point in time there. In 2018, you have this opportunity to kind of step away from the scouting and really step into this unique role that kind of ties everything that you had been doing in to a certain extent. The executive director at the Reese's Senior Bowl, more than 900 personnel show up for this every year from all 32 teams, over 1,000 media members to come in and see these seniors and guys going into the draft firsthand this past April. As a matter of fact, the game produced 110 total picks, representing 43% of the entire NFL draft. Obviously, this is an important deal from a coach's standpoint. That's kind of like our second convention. We have the ASA convention, and everybody goes and hangs out there at the Senior Bowl to a certain extent to kind of network and all that kind of stuff from an NFL coaching perspective, I guess. So this is an important thing. This is a huge deal that has been going on for almost 75 years, something like that. What was the decision-making process to kind of step away from that scouting and take advantage of this opportunity as executive director? Yeah,
no, I understand the question, but I probably scouted more for the Senior Bowl. It was
oh, really? Okay.
It's still a scouting job, man. You got to pick the players. It was the first opportunity in my life where I'd never picked a player in my life. I went from never picking a player to picking 120 a year. So, that was really a family deal.
Wow. Okay.
So we were living in Mobile, Alabama. We'd been there 11 years at the time. It's my wife's hometown. And so when the job came open in the summer of 2018, I called our GM in Seattle, John Schneider, who I ended up hooking back up with later in my scouting career. And he loves my wife, loves my kids. And I said, my son was in 8th grade, so my son was getting ready to play high school football and basketball. And I'm like, Johnny, I got to go for this job, don't I? And he's like, you're damn right you do. So put my name in the hat for it. And lucky enough, I got it. And it was really a great opportunity because, I quite honestly think I was in a little bit of a rut with the NFL scouting job. I mean, I've been doing the same thing for 18 years and, in a car by myself, like traveling the country and writing reports and going to practice and watching tape. And like, this was a great opportunity to really broaden my skill set quite a bit. I mean, at the Senior Bowl, you got to wear a lot of different hats, man. Like there's like a political element to it. You're interfacing with the NFL league office on things. You're interfacing with all 32 NFL teams and front offices, which was easy because most of those guys, at the upper levels are my friends now. Those are the guys I came into the NFL with. There's a community aspect. Like you said, the game's been in Mobile 76 years. It's a big part. It's part of the fabric of the community down there. So there's a big, big civic part of that job. You asked me if I've been on social media, man, my wife would laugh at that. Yeah. The social media part has been a huge part of our build at the Senior Bowl over the years. I mean, that's really how we recruit players. I mean, that's honestly been a great part of this OU job. I don't have to get on social media anymore unless I want to.
Right.
I used to have to with my last job, but no, man, it was great. It was great. The power that, the game is run by a thing called the Mobile Arts and Sports Association. We had a 12-person board and chairman, and I give them a lot of credit. They gave me a lot of autonomy to, we built up a football operation. We had a full scouting staff of former NFL scouts, guys that get let go every year in the hiring, firing cycle. So kind of turned over a new staff every year. That had never been done at the all-star level. So really tried to bring credibility from a football standpoint to the all-star space. And so it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And then, I had some other opportunities in the NFL and at the college level, but when you get the call from OU, it's a little different. So quite honestly, I never saw myself working at the college level, but this was too good of an opportunity to pass up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like I said, we'll get to this OU thing. I honestly didn't have another question kind of prepared for the Senior Bowl, but I didn't realize how involved you were with the selection of players. I was thinking it was a little bit more behind the desk, tie on and stuff like that. But you had
it was
boots on ground.
Yeah, it was. Ultimately every player that got selected to the game. I mean, we had a great staff and I listened to everyone, but ultimately that call was mine. So I had to watch everybody. I would only watch the draftable players, the draftable grades that came in from our staff. So it's not like I was watching, 600 players, but I was, watching probably 300 players a year, 300 to 400 players a year.
That's awesome, man. Well, I didn't realize you were still that involved. And so, you kind of, you still been going at it even during that time at the Senior Bowl. So you get the call, you talked about getting a call at OU and, how tough that would be to pass up. And I don't think anybody would disagree with you there. What is some of the dialogue with the fam? You know what I'm saying? Obviously you took that job back in Mobile to be not on the road for 200 nights and all that kind of stuff. But just what was the conversation like to get you back into this profession again? Or I guess this is your first time at the
conversation with who now?
With your family and, making the decision to kind of get back to it a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. So my son's in college now. That son that I got off the road for, he's in college now. I do have a daughter in high school. So not ideal timing.
Yeah.
It would have been probably better for her sake to get her through high school and then make a transition. So that's going to be hard. My wife and daughter still aren't out in Norman yet. So we're truly, until they get here, it's going to feel like transition mode.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait. I haven't seen them in over a month, so I can't wait to get them out here. But yeah, I mean, this was, again, my wife, I got to give her a ton of credit. She's been an awesome support system for me. I wouldn't be able to do without her. And she was fully supportive of this. She's supported me through the whole way. And anyone in football, every coach listening to this thing knows, I mean, how critical it is to have a wife that understands the job. So, we had those conversations and, I think everyone's really excited about this.
Good. Well, let's kind of get into it just a little bit. I remember here over the last probably decade where we've had an emergence of like kind of off the field analysts at all these different colleges all kind of had a drastically different role depending on where you were at, and director, player personnel, and all those kind of things. I kind of feel like GM at this point in time is probably just a little, and chief of staff are all a little bit different at these different places. But as you're starting to see guys like yourself, and I can't remember the exact name of the guy that North Carolina guy, but you're starting to see some of these a little bit more high profile names and these guys that have a lot of NFL experience and roster management and all these kind of things. How do you look at this role? How do you think this GM role is going to shake out? And what are your plans a little bit with OU?
Yeah, I'm sure it's different everywhere. Like you're bringing up Mike Lombardi from North Carolina, a good friend of mine, Pat Stewart, who he and I worked in New England together, just got the job in Nebraska. So I think you're going to see more of it. I think that now that you're moving to more of an NFL type model at the college level with having a salary cap and, these players getting paid, it lends itself to someone that's been at that level and done that. So, just from a big picture, I think all the coaches, listening can understand like that's a pretty uncomfortable place to be as a coach when you're trying to negotiate with your players. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
You've got a player that maybe underperforms one year, and you want to drop his salary, and you're the head coach, like probably not a great place not a great fit for a coach. So, there's a lot of things to interface. I think, the coaching profession at the college level, this job has become huge. There's just a lot. There's a lot more on these guys' plates than there's ever been. And, maybe I'll put it to you this way, like the NFL, in terms of like the power structure in the NFL, you got 32 teams. There's not one guy that's the head coach GM. Not one. I mean, Coach Belichick was probably the last guy in New England. He never technically had the GM title there, but I think everyone knew that Coach Belichick was making all the calls there. But outside of that, I mean, 32 out of 32 right now have kind of a split structure.
Yeah.
But when you look at college football, it's basically at the FBS level, 134, whatever that number is now. Up until recently, it's been 134 out of 134. The head coach still makes all the calls.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right.
And so, like, it sounds kind of weird, right? Like the NFL, 0 out of 32 are doing it that way. And then in college football, 134 out of 134 is doing it the other way. So I just think, someone in a position like mine can really help out the coaching staff. We're going to be really collaborative here at OU. I mean, we're putting together a great scouting staff, and we're going to bust our butts, and we're going to watch a ton of players. We're going to save them a lot of time. Like I told them, since we're here to make their jobs easier.
Yeah.
Right. And it's going to be fun when we get this thing fully launched. This is going to be a really fun process, really collaborative process. So, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. And I've been in a good position at the Senior Bowl over the years where coaches have really opened up to me because I haven't been in this space before. Like I know the grievances that coaches have with the profession right now, and some of the burnout, and where we are kind of in college football. So I'm very mindful of what how coaches are feeling about the demands of their job. So we're just trying to come in here and lessen some of those burdens.
Yeah. And now it's probably time for this last question here. You have decades of experience of cutting on film, visiting these universities and colleges across the country, looking at a guy saying, he has it, he doesn't. Let me look at his background, all those kind of things. One of the unique things about college and the college recruiting space a little bit is, I was a receiver coach, and, maybe I got a kind of guy that I like, maybe he's short, quick, twitchy guy from my inside slot. How has your time been kind of adapting maybe to, the uniqueness of collaborating with these coaches to get exactly what this program wants? Some of these relationships you got to build with these coaches.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, we're incorporating our coaches with all that. I frankly just asked for that this week from all our position coaches.
Okay.
So like, give me your top 5 position specifics that you think are critical. Now, in the same breath, I'll say this: you can't totally gear your recruiting towards your position coaches, because you and I both know the position coach. I mean, the coaching carousel is. Yeah, I mean, you can't just like hone in on one type of player at a particular position, because that coach might be gone next year, and you could be bringing a new guy that wants something totally different.
Absolutely.
So this is another collaboration, right? Like, I want them to have input. We're going to talk to, now that I've got all those lists put together, we're going to have those conversations, but they also understand the nature that, if they get a great job offer to go somewhere, they're not, they're going to go. We got to understand that. So yeah, it is. Back to your point, it's going to be a collaboration. I want the coaches to have input, but again, we have to be mindful of, like, we need what an Oklahoma receiver looks like.
Yeah.
Not just what a position coach's receiver looks like, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense, Jim. Well, hey, man, I've enjoyed this. I think you've enlightened the profession a little bit on this topic. Obviously, it's going to continue to grow, and it's pretty awesome. You get to kind of be on the forefront of this shift in college football. So, Jim, I appreciate you taking the time with us, man. If there's any social media that you want to share to keep up with you, or OU recruiting or anything like that, please feel free to share. But if you don't got it, no worries. Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on. This was fun. I feel like we could keep going. I got to jump in the meeting, but appreciate you having me on. Thanks a lot. All right. Thanks, Jim. Have a good one.
Okay. Take care.
CoachComm has been delivering tough headsets for tough teams for more than 31 years. It's why 97% of FBS teams and thousands of high schools across the country rely on CoachComm. Get the best for your team. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. If you'd like to learn more about this week's episode, head over to afca.com. There, you can access every episode and find corresponding show notes. Remember, you can catch every episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm, on wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, we'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Your feedback helps us improve and grow. Keep up with the latest news by following us on social media. Connect with us at Inside the Headset, and remember to tag us when you share your favorite episodes. For more updates on all things AFCA, be sure to follow the @WeAreAFCA social media accounts. If you're not a part of the AFCA community yet, visit AFCA.com to join thousands of NFL, college, and high school coaches nationwide and across the globe. Elevate your coaching game with an AFCA membership. You'll gain exclusive access to the annual AFCA convention, magazine, digital library, and AFCA Insider email. Stay up to date with the latest stories and news on the AFCA website. More than just a convention, the AFCA offers continuous education, guidance, networking, and more. Celebrate the past and shape the future with the AFCA. It's about fostering exceptional coaches who create outstanding teams and even better individuals. Invest in your skills and make a lasting impact today by engaging with the AFCA. Your journey starts here.